chase. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi everybody, welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Akeem Woods.
Ooh.
What's up, Akeem?
How are you, man? I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this movie.
I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this movie, because this movie, so this movie, we'll say right away, this movie's Brokeback Mountain. And I've had, every once in a while, I've had people who I've reached out to about being guests on the podcast, and sometimes they pick a movie that I guarantee they will have an interesting, informed opinion on compared to other people who would look at the same movie. Like I had, I could only imagine talking to a gay person about Brokeback Mountain. Truly. Because it feels like the way that you perceive this movie and the way you look at this movie is very different than the way that a straight white guy, is going to look at this movie.
Correct.
And
which is why I'm excited. Which I get why people like it, and I'm pretty sure I know what point you're gonna. I'm interested to see what your take is on it, but I think I know what it is, and then I'm excited to explain all the reasons why it's bad.
Yeah, well, okay, so this is the first time I'd seen the movie. I remember when it came out in 2005. You know, this is a very famous romantic drama film directed by Ang Lee. It's got Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, Michelle Williams. It got a ton of critical acclaim. It was nominated for Best Picture. It won Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score. It was famously, in the wake of it existing and losing Best Picture, a lot of people have gone back and said that they would have awarded this movie Best Picture, and they wish that they had instead.
Who got Best Picture? What movie got Best Picture? I'm not a huge movie buff, so what movie beat it?
This is the year that Crash won Best Picture, the Paul Haggis movie. You never saw it?
No.
I mean, that movie's an actually bad movie. Like, it's basically a movie that just is, it's one of those movies that tries to make white people feel okay about racism existing.
Oh,
you know?
Well, that wins.
Exactly, of course. Because at the time, there's no way, I don't think, people are much more willing to accept racism than a gay romantic drama in 2005. But it's since been, it's critically acclaimed. It's widely recognized as a movie that shifted putting gay stories and queer cinema into the mainstream. But you don't like it, so I'm interested to hear. I want to hear from you straight out the bat. What's your beef with the movie? You've seen it a couple times. You've added some things.
I've seen it when it first came out, and I hated it. And then I rewatched it today. I literally just finished it like 10 minutes ago, and I was wondering, I'm like, okay, these are the reasons I hate it. Okay, one, there was so many action parts of the movie, like so much like violence and aggression, and it was like, it's like they couldn't tell a gay love story. It's like, oh no, we need action. Like there was so much fighting it was like so many microaggressions, and I get get the underlying story, but at the same time I was like, y'all can just tell a gay love story. Like, y'all don't, it doesn't have to be action packed like the fight, like there was like 5 or 6 fight scenes. And I'm like, you can tell a gay love story without there being all this fighting. Like, I get that it's like taboo to be gay, and I understand that sad part of the story. Like, I get that they had to tell that, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, are y'all just putting all this action in it so straight people can watch it? Like, I feel like that's pandering. And the action, what I hate, a minor thing that I hated the accents with a passion. Like, I thought they were just really, oh my god, were they
the
bad.
twangs? The cowboy drawls.
It was so bad. And then me watching it now and then by often like I didn't like. I don't think they put thought into ending a movie like that, because it didn't. It ended with kind of basically the gist of the story. This is how I took it as watching it again for the second time. Is it because when I first watched it, I wasn't out in 2005. I wasn't out. I came out when I was I'm 30. I came out when I was 25.
Okay.
And now watching it again as an openly gay person, and how drastically depressing and they ended that story really low. And then like as a gay person watching it, like if like as putting myself in where I would have watched it had it been 2005, it was basically like, oh yeah, no, there's no reason to come out. Like why would you like it's bad.
Right.
So like as a gay person watching that movie in 2005, I'm assuming I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay in the closet forever because this is like, I mean, yes, being gay is hard and it is blah 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 blah, but it was like they didn't even give a sliver of hope to any like gay person that was watching that in the closet watching that movie. Like they gave absolutely no underlining, like nothing good happened to these people.
Yeah, this movie is really bleak. It's a really like, I mean, I had my friend Fifi Dash on a couple months ago to talk about The Danish Girl, which is a movie about, you know, a man transitioning to be a woman, and Fifi is trans, and her biggest complaint with the movie sounds a lot like in the same sort of vein as yours, where it's a story like it's just gay misery.
Yeah.
It's all it is. Like, nobody has a good life in this movie. Everybody's really sad. You know, it ends in a really sad way. There's a lot of violence. Like, I mean, even when I was in high school, the only stuff that I heard about gay people at all, and I knew, I think maybe one or two out gay people at my school.
How old are you? Are we the same age?
Yeah, we're the same age.
Okay.
So we were both in high school when this came out, and I remember there was an out gay kid in my and I was a theater kid too, so I was much more likely to be around out gay people, I think, than most of the other kids at my high school in Texas. But I remember like the only other stories that I'd heard about gay people were like Matthew Shepard, and that was it. And Matthew Shepard, it's you know, it's a kid getting beaten to death and left for dead on a fence.
Yeah.
And Brokeback Mountain, there's a lot of violence, and it's a really sad. It's like, it's just sad. It's just a sad story.
And the gay sex was bad. Like it was so aggressive, and it made gay sex seem like every time they were kissing, they were like fighting. And I'm like, I've kissed a lot of dudes. I've never ever kissed a dude that way.
You mean to tell me that gay guys don't start wrestling before they kiss every single time?
Maybe I just haven't been in love, but like every time they kiss, I'm like, why are you guys so fucking violent? Like everything portrayed as like the gay sex was like so fucking violent, and I'm like, dude, y'all know that gay people, we don't fuck that way. I mean, some people might, but like as a mass, like you could have had like I think they were scared to show like actual intimacy between these two men. So they just like made everything over the top and violent, and it was just like that's not that. I mean, I don't understand. And it was interesting because I had just watched another movie which is really good. It just came out. It's on Amazon Prime. Uncle Frank. I don't know if you saw that.
I've seen posters for it. I don't know what it's about though.
It's sad as well, but it has a good ending. You should watch it. But it's I would say it's a similar story where it talks about, it's based in the same era as Brokeback Mountain, like the same time, the 70s and 60s or whatever. Okay. It's about a guy and coming out and blah 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 blah. But it has a good ending, and it actually shows like an actual romantic, intimate moments with gay men rather than just, okay, let's wrestle and fight and punch each other, and that's how gay dudes fuck. Right. Which I thought that was like weird.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, another thing that I hated was basically they weren't even saying like they were like the only reason why these two guys are in love, or the only reason why these two guys found each other. It's like if you basically what I got from it was like if you isolate two straight dudes on a mountain long enough, they're gonna fuck. Like that was such a scapegoat for them to be in love. It was just like, oh no, we're not gay. We're just on a mountain. There's no pussy around. We gotta suck dick. Like it was like that was their out to be like they couldn't just be two guys that were just gay and found each other and blah 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 blah. I was like, nah, dude, we were on a mountain, isolated. We had no choice but to suck dick. And I'm like, all right, that's a weird caveat. So I thought
cowboy, being a cowboy is like being in prison. It's just you just go for whatever's around, I guess.
Yeah, that was
okay. So all right. So I think, it's interesting you bring up that Uncle Frank movie, because I was going to say, I think a lot of why the story is, why the characters at least are in this predicament, I guess, where they're like trying to, because clearly I think Jack Twist, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, is the one who is more comfortable with his sexuality than Ennis, than Heath Ledger's character is. I mean, the poor Ennis Del Mar is just this. If he would accept that he is a gay man and just agree to like follow Jack and just run away with him and go on this ranch like they'd fantasized about doing, this whole movie wouldn't happen. Nobody would be punching anybody in the woods.
Even the thing that I didn't like about it, which I get the turbulation, I get all that, I get the hardships were coming out, I went through it, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But like they didn't even have him accepted at the end.
Right.
Like they didn't even be like, oh, but at the end, he's like, he didn't come out to anyone. He's still an alcohol. Like there was no moment in the entire 2.5 hour fucking movie where he came to terms with who he was as a person, which is like basically, which to me, it was like to any person watching this back in 2005, as a gay person watching this, it was just like, oh yeah, no, it's terrible being gay and never come out. Like that's what I got out of the movie. And it was just, so I don't know. I mean, I get why people like it, but I feel like straight people like it. I don't think gay people like this movie.
It's interesting because I feel conflicted about the movie. I can't say that it's an easy movie to watch just because it is, from pretty much start to finish, a very depressing movie. The happiest time we get is when Jack and Ennis are on Brokeback Mountain together for that first summer.
Yeah.
And, you get to see all these shots of them clearly falling in love and enjoying each other's company. And it's after that, I mean, that's like 20 or 25 minutes of the movie. The rest of this movie is just sad people doing things, hiding who they really are. But I think that all of the elements of the movie, as far as from like, everything from the acting and the script to the shoot, to the shots and the production design, the costumes and the music and the direction, I think all of that is really good. So it's one of those movies that like is a really tough emotional watch, but I think it's a really well-made movie. Even if it's a story that's hard to, I mean, you can't find any joy in it, really. It's not an enjoyable movie to watch.
I think that's why, here's a good point that you might not get because you haven't watched the other movie. I think that storyline is important, and I still hate it, but I think I hate it because when it came out, like, mm-hmm. I think if, because that was like the first big gay movie to come out. Like that was like the first blockbuster hit for gay people. And it was just sad and depressing. And then it just painted that negative stigma onto it, which I felt like if it had not necessarily a happy ending, but an ending that where he came to terms with himself, or accepted him who he was, or someone accepted him, then it would have been a better movie. So I think like if that movie came out now, I don't think it would be what am I trying to say? If Uncle Frank came out before that, like if they switched places on when they came out, I think it would have done better, if that makes any sense. Because at least you'd have to watch the movie, but at least there's a ray of hope or something. Like there's some positive things that happen towards the end of this movie. And if you're gonna do a movie about a disenfranchised group of people, and if you're gonna do a movie about something like being gay, especially when like those kids who have to come out eventually, you should at least, if it's gonna be the first movie, you should at least show some type of hope for those kids.
Right.
Otherwise, it's kind of like a slap in the face. It's like you're exploiting the pain of a disenfranchised group, but without showing any of the reward or anything like that. It seems like an exploitation film rather than a pro-gay film. It seems like it's exploiting the pain rather than, I don't know. It's just I hate it so much.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, you make a great point. Like this is okay. I mean, it's obviously it's a movie about gay people, but it's made for straight people, right? Like there's a reason why it became this massive blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
It's because I guess at the time that it came out, I'm not sure how many straight people out there would have been ready for a movie like Uncle Frank, which is a real travesty because because that's the thing. Like I'm looking on Wikipedia right now about there are other movies, of course, that like besides Brokeback Mountain involved gay characters in their lead roles. And they all they have tragic endings, right? It's Brokeback Mountain. It's Milk. It's The Kids Are All Right. These are not movies about happy people. The closest we get is about Milk, with Harvey Milk's story, but he gets assassinated.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's crazy that it is only like, you probably would have a better knowledge of it than I would, just by being a gay man, but I can't think of any movies from around that time period or even before then where it shows gay people being like happy and getting to live normal, like fulfilling lives.
Yeah, it's because that's what like I get why they had to tell the sad part of the story, because like I get it because they want to shed light onto how it is being gay, blah 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 blah. Like I get that. But it's like if you only show one side of the story, one side of the coin, that's all people are gonna think it is. So they're just gonna think being gay is just a tragedy. So it's like you have to like it's not just sad. Like you said, but the thing about that movie, the happiness was so brief. It was just like literally 20 minutes of these two guys wrestling on a mountain, which is ridiculous, but like whatever. and then it was just like these 2 minutes, and then it was like, all right. And I felt like they tried to make these dudes as straight as possible. Like I felt like they really tried to make these broy, really masculine butch dudes. Which I don't know if that was just a way to be like, hey, butch dudes can be gay too. I don't know if they were going for that. I mean, even since the movie came out, I've met plenty of gay dudes. I've never heard one who talks like Heath Ledger does in that movie, where he's just no one
knows. I don't know what's going on.
It was, I don't know. It was, and then like the moments that they had of like actual romance when it wasn't them fighting was literally like 2 moments in the whole movie. Because every other romantic encounter they had was either post-violence or pre-violence. Like it was like either things just had got violent and then they started kissing, and that was just so fucking ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I didn't. It was bad.
Are there? I mean, you've watched it a couple times now. I think I'm really interested to hear if you thought there were any parts of this movie that are redeeming. If there's anything about it that, if cut out all the rest of the movie, this part still works for you, or is it a total wash?
Let me think about all of it. I think it was a wash.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal Hall has a nice ass, so I mean, that was cool.
There you go. Yeah, you get to see some Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger ass. And Heath Ledger ass
Yeah,
is rare.
I mean,
I don't even know if he showed his ass in any other movies.
yeah. So I mean, I guess, and I can't even be a fan of the gay sex because like a part of me is like that's like on paper that's hot. Like Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal having sex. Like on paper that sounds hot. But then the way they did it, I was like, oh, that's not even hot. Like it wasn't. It was just bad. I think it was just bad. Like the sex scenes or the romantic or the whatever it was with them was just. It just seemed fake.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I mean, and not to take away from their acting. Actually, yeah, to take away from their acting, it was. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't know. It's I think like I feel like there were no gay people involved in the making of this movie.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. What do you think if okay, so say it's 2005.
Yeah.
You know, you're not 15 years old. You're 30. You're you now, right?
Yeah.
You get hired as a gay consultant on
Which is
Brokeback
ridiculous,
Mountain.
but yeah.
But okay, so what do you think if we're taking just the movie as it is, right?
Yeah.
And where do you make changes? What do you do to make it feel like something that fits the experience of like finding love as a gay man? What do you and you know like coming out obviously seems to be a part of these guys' stories, even if they don't fully do it.
I think if they needed someone to die, because apparently death has to happen, I think they should have had something should have changed drastically in whoever they want to survive, whether it be Ennis or Jack. Something should change drastically in their lives for a positive thing. Like if since Jack died and Ennis was alive, something should have clicked. And I don't know, maybe he came out, or maybe someone accepted him for who he was, or maybe even the thing that I was even hoping for when I was watching it, because I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, or maybe the parent, like the other thing that they did very minimum, they're like, okay, well the mom, Jack's mom, is kind of cool. She's like, come back and visit. But it's like that could have been a moment where that scene could have been shot. If that scene was shot completely different, and they had some revelations, as in Ernest and the mom, or Ernest and the mom, or even the dad. Even if the dad was somewhat accepting, and he was a bigot, even in that last scene, he was a bigot. He's like, no, Jack's gonna be buried with. I'm like, really? No one is not gonna be a bigot? Is just everyone's a bigot? And I mean, I get it's the '60s, but like, fuck, like, so it was like that scene could have been it. Even if it wasn't the dad, even the dad just walked outside and the mom winked. Even if the mom just winked at the dude, which would have been, I would have been pissed at that too. But like, some type of redeeming thing in that last scene would have been like, okay, well, maybe things will get a little better. But it was like, nah, that scene's gonna be kind of sad too. The mom's gonna be like, come back and see us sometime.
Right. There's not going to be, and it's come back, and by the way, I got you, bud.
Even that would have been like, okay, well, at least there's hope or something. But it was just, yeah, they didn't even do that. I don't know. I felt like they did. I felt like it was like, it felt like tragedy porn.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty,
Like,
in almost a literal sense. Even though there's barely any actual gay sex in the movie.
Yeah. It was, yeah. Also, gay people, we don't just have sex doggy style. That was annoying as hell. Like, there's so many other ways that gay people can have sex. And for some reason, straight people don't know that. Like, oh no, doggy style. It's like, no, there's so many other ways gay people can have sex. But that's all. Whenever they show a gay sex scene, I'm just like, straight people are so dumb. Like, they're just like, all right, doggy style. I'm like, oh, you mean, do y'all think that's all we do? Like, how boring do y'all think our sex is? When it's just like, no, you just flip over on the doggy style. That's it. That's all you guys do, right? That was annoying as well. But
I think that's probably because all straight people assume in movies for a long time was, oh, it's just missionary. So for gay cinema, you've still got to get to the point where straight cinema was, where it's like, oh, there are other positions. So they'll give it another 10 years from now, I guess, which is shitty.
Yeah.
But I mean,
also, does lube not exist in the 60s? Because
it's just spit. That's all they got.
Spitting on your hand.
Spit and bean juice.
What a terrible sex scene that was. I remember watching that as a kid, as a not out kid, and I was so fucking disappointed. I'm like, this is I paid to see Jake. I watched it because I'm like, oh yeah, Jake's hot. This dude's hot. I want to see hot dudes on screen. And I remember watching it. I don't think I saw it in theater. I probably like saw it illegally on my phone or some shit, or on my computer. And I remember like watching it. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna fucking beat off to this movie. And I'm watching. I'm like, oh God, that's what? Oh God, yeah. I hated it.
Man.
But what did you think about it?
I mean, like I said, I think it's a very sad, very well made movie.
Yeah.
It's in the vein. It's definitely. It's tragedy porn. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's the kind of movie, and I like I said, like talking to you about before this, I was watching it with my girlfriend, who it's one of her favorite movies, and in talking to her after the fact, I think it makes her explanation for why she identifies with this movie so much is because she looks at the story of these characters, and particularly of Ennis, as the story of people who accept a small, sad life instead of allowing themselves to grow and expand beyond what they know and what they assume, because they're afraid or because they because they've been indoctrinated into believing a certain thing or think a certain way. And from that side, like, that's a thing that I understand, and I resonate with that too. Just because I know people like that. I know people who have made decisions that baffle me when it seems like it's the thing that, like, I can see what's holding them back. Like, I can see in this movie, more so than what's holding Jack back, I can really see what's holding Ennis back. But for both of them, it's their reluctance to accept who they are. It's their reluctance to accept their sexuality. It's their reluctance to say goodbye to the life that they know and take the leap of faith. I think it's not a movie that I am eager to watch again.
Yeah.
But it's a movie that I can understand why it is so critically acclaimed and why it did have such an impact that it did. But I mean, I can say the same thing about Requiem for a Dream too, right? Or Mother, and I don't I don't want to see those movies again either, even though I still feel like I feel affected by these movies. I see the story being told well, even if it's not an easy story to tell, or a story to enjoy. Like, I can't say the best part about Brokeback Mountain in terms of, like, the parts that I liked, right? Yeah. It's like the happy parts. It's the first 20 minutes, and the cinematography is beautiful, and the acting is really good. But I can appreciate those things even if I find myself not liking what happens to the people in the story.
Yeah, I thought the acting was I didn't love it, to be honest. But what I also think is interesting, which I just thought of, is I think the importance of having not necessarily a happy ending, but a better ending to a movie like that, especially for for the demographic, even
Mhm.
though mostly straight people watch it, but it's targeted towards gay people,
Right.
is like, okay, for instance, like if you watch a slave movie, if you watch 12 Years a Slave or whatever, or Harriet Tubman or something like that, even if that ends badly, as a black person, I mean, I know as a black person, I'm like, hey, we're not slaves anymore.
And I trust you as a
So,
black person to know
yeah,
that you know you're not a slave
so
anymore.
things are better. I mean, we're still getting killed by police and blah, 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 but things are significantly better than it was during that movie. So it doesn't have to end happily because we already know how it ends for us because we're in the future.
Right.
But as a gay kid in 2005 or whatever, they ended that poorly. And as a gay person watching that movie, you don't know you're not out yet. Well, I wasn't out at the time, so you don't know how it's supposed to end. So that's telling the story. So me watching that, I'm thinking, oh fuck. And I'm in Florida at the time because I grew up in Florida, and there's no openly gay kids. There's like 2 openly gay kids in my high school. They all get picked on. So like as a kid watching that movie, and then the way they ended that movie, it was just like, so it was like solidified for me to like, oh yeah, well, no, why would I come out? Because all that shit happened.
Right.
So even if you're fucking in the woods, eventually people are gonna find out. Like, so it just like it feels irresponsible to make that movie and end it the way they ended it. But like I said, that's why I feel like there were no gay people involved in the making of that movie. I felt like someone was like, we might want to make that happier for closeted people.
Yeah, they gotta hire a gay consultant on any gay movies. I totally put forward, Akeem, you should be Hollywood's. Put yourself out there.
I'm sure it's 2020, so I'm sure they have some by now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. They're still making gay tragedy porn.
Yeah, but that's why I didn't. That's the reason why. That's one of the main reasons why. That's not one of the main reasons why, but it's one of the reasons why I hated the movie so much is because it felt like an irresponsible ending. Since people are still, especially in 2005,
right?
Like now in 2020, if that would have came out and ended the same way, I don't think it would have been as irresponsible because like now. There's more gay representation and there's more positive gay representation. So now gay people or closeted people can see other outlets and be like, okay, coming out isn't that big of a deal, or it is still a big deal, but it's not as drastic, blah, blah, blah. But as far as this coming out in 2005 when there was nothing, and it was just like, this was the first one in a sense, and then ending that way, it was just like, oh, well, that's kind of a slap in the face to the group of people you're trying to make this movie about. Like,
Right. I got one more question, and I think we talked about sorry, what was the name of the Uncle movie that you just
Uncle
watched?
Frank.
Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank is a movie with gay characters where it's not a sad ending. Where
there's still a lot of sad parts, but it's so much better. I really watch that and let me know what you think about it. It's so much better done. It's so better, whatever the word is for that.
I will. I also want to know if there are any other movies that are about gay characters that you think are happier stories that you think people should watch if they don't want to just see gay tragedies in cinema.
There was this Broy one that's really, I guess it's a comedy and it's not bad. But it's not necessarily funny, but it is happy. I think it's on Netflix. It's called The Fourth Man Out.
Okay.
So that's it's good.
What's it about?
It's the same thing. It's about a dude coming out to his friends. It's not based in the 60s. It's like present day or whatever, or the 90s or 2000s or whatever. And it's about a guy who has like 3 friends and they're like frat friends. They've been friends forever, blah, 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 blah. Dude comes out. His friends are weird about it at first, and then eventually become accepted. Because when you come out, well, you don't know because you're not gay. But a lot of times when you come out to people, they assume that you want to fuck them because you guys are narcissistic as fuck for whatever reason. Like, oh my god, you're gay, you have to want me, and it's like, motherfucker, I'm gay, not blind. But that's what people think. So it had that a lot of that was in it, and then they ended up. It was fine. It was happy go lucky, and it was fine. I don't watch. I don't watch a lot of gay movies. The same reason why I don't watch a lot of slave movies is because like I don't feel like hating white people or straight people. And it's like whenever I watch one of those movies, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, you
Fair
guys are the
enough.
worst.
I mean,
So like I couldn't give a list of movies for people to watch, unfortunately.
hey, listen.
Like I said, Uncle Frank, if you want to watch that, which is significantly better, it's sad. It's still sad. So please don't watch this. Like you said, it'd be happy. Nah, motherfucker. I said the ending was happy,
right?
But it's still sad as fuck. But it's really well done, and it's the movie that should have came out in the same time zone that. They should have switched release dates is basically what I'm saying. I think it would have been better if that happened, but we don't have time machines and that's not how life works.
True, unfortunately. Not yet anyway. We'll see. We'll see how it goes in the next couple of years. We got a COVID vaccine, maybe we'll get a time machine fast track.
And maybe we'll get more stimulus checks too.
Maybe. Oh god, who knows? Akeem, thank you so much for opening my eyes, offering some perspective, and you're a great guest. Where can the listeners find you and your work if they want to give you a follow and check out your stuff?
Everything is at Akeem Woods, AKEEM Woods, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter. You can follow me. I have like 7 followers. I do not use it. So if you want to be the 8th follower, you will be disappointed. What else? And that's it. I have a YouTube. I'm going to start uploading more. And I don't have a lot of things. I normally would plug a bunch of shows, but we are on lockdown. So I have absolutely nothing to plug. I'm working on a show with BET, but there's no name for it yet. So,
all right. Well, keep your eyes peeled for Akeem's nameless BET show whenever that comes out. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, leave a rating. Consider joining the Patreon. You can get access to bonus episodes and the Blockbusting Film Club where we watch movies together. And that is it. Akeem, thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was super fun. I'm excited to see the comments of this. Yeah. And if any gay person likes this movie, please DM me and tell me why, because you shouldn't. I'm joking. You could totally like it. It's just I don't. And I'm interested to see if gay people do like it. So
you heard it here first, folks. If you're gay, DM Akeem for all of your Brokeback hating tips. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.